Hello. Can you hear me?
Chandrashe, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, Shalini.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, this is good. Okay, stay this way.
Okay.
Move too much and then we can see all kinds of things. Ganeshan's also here. I think people will join slowly. So whenever you're ready, we can get started.
Let me know. Ganeshan, hi.
He's muted, so maybe he can't.
Hi, Smith.
Chalo. Chandrashe, we are ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, hi. Hi to everybody. This is Chandra. I want to talk to you about obviously my career post IIM Cal, and also we'll touch upon the future of digital banking in the Middle East, something that my company is busy with, trying to make sure that customers can adopt digital ways of paying easily. So post IIM Cal, I joined Standard Chartered, as many of you would know. I was initially in India. I started my career in Delhi. I was handling the retail operations there, and then moved to Bombay in '90, and I was handling the new products for the consumer division. In '92, there came a break in Bahrain where I was asked to come and run the retail credit. So I took that option, and we moved as a family into Bahrain. And I was handling the retail credit portfolio here till '97, and then took over as head of retail banking, which meant a business role. From the risk side, I moved into a business role, and I was running the entire retail banking for Standard Chartered for Bahrain. And I did that for up to 2000, and then I went off to an exotic country called Lebanon, where Standard Chartered made an acquisition. We actually bought a bank and wanted to start retail there. So I was sent there to head retail. But post which, as many of you would know, Standard Chartered and Grindlace, the merger happened. So I had additional charge of Lebanon and Jordan, where I used to run the retail bank. In around 2003, I moved into Dubai post my role in Lebanon and Jordan. I used to run the regional credit cards and personal loans for Middle East and South Asia for Standard Chartered, which was primarily the unsecured book. And then eventually it became credit cards, personal loans, and a host of other products for all the countries where Standard Chartered was in Africa, Middle East, and South Asia. South Asia was Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Pakistan primarily. I came back to Bahrain in about 2008, again to run a cluster of countries from Bahrain, which included Lebanon, Jordan, Qatar, Oman, and Bahrain were clustered, and I became the cluster head for consumer banking. And I ran that role. I was running that role up to 2010, when there was a transfer offered to me to move out of Bahrain. Anybody join?
Hi,
Hi, Shekhar.
how are you, man?
Fine, fine, fine. So I just started off on my career. So in
Okay.
2010, I was offered a job in Singapore, where I could not move because my children were in schooling. And post which, I decided to leave Standard Chartered. I left in 2010, and I came into new role at Arab Banking Corporation as group head of retail products. And we also, obviously, Arab Banking Corporation had retail businesses in Algeria, Tunisia, Jordan, and Lebanon, and the head office was based in Bahrain. So I took that role. But a curious turn of fate happened, and I became the CEO for Arab Financial Services, which is that subsidiary. It's primarily, we are a payment technology company. We run the back office credit operations for a host of banks, about 70 banks across about 20 countries. And because of my earlier expertise in cards and payments, I was offered the CEO role at Arab Financial Services by Arab Banking Corporation, which is the primary owner of our company. So I took over this role in 2010, which I've been running the business since. And over the last 9 odd years, we have seen a lot of transformation happening in the payments industry. We are seeing obviously people move away from plastic into mobile. So as part of this whole journey, what we have done with AFS, which is my company, is turned it into 3 areas. One we call as core, which is the core credit card and debit card and the ATM driving and the processing bit of it. And to it, we have added a host of value-added services like analytics. We have added all the internet e-commerce engines to this, and we have made it like an end-to-end thing for a bank, so they don't need to do anything except find the customer. So the second thing we have done is obviously we are into merchant acquiring now, so we have introduced state-of-the-art point of sale terminals, which are Android based. So it's a new way of merchant acquiring. So you can tap contactless onto this point of sale. You can do a QR transaction like India's Paytm. So the one terminal accepts all is our philosophy. So the new terminals, we already deployed about 10,000 terminals between Oman and Bahrain, and we are winning market share against our competitor here. The third division we set up a couple of years back was exactly on the lines of Paytm. So we have our own digital wallet in Bahrain, which is called B Wallet. And today we have more customers than any bank on that product. So we have managed to change the way customers pay from the traditional old plastic method to using the mobile via QR code, a similar model to what Paytm is doing. And like Paytm, we've added now you can remit money to about 8 countries on the B Wallet. You can split the bill, you can pay your mobile bills, you can bill aggregate. So the wallet is a one-stop kind of product which is available to the customer. And increasingly, we will find that the wallet will replace a bank account, and you can do practically 80 to 90% of what you do with a bank, you could do on the wallet. So in the last 9 odd years, the industry and the way the business is run has changed. We are also transforming our own company to address the change because we are primarily a credit card processor, but we have now become a mobile payment enabler. We also, as we are heavily investing in the fintech area by putting new products, we are early stage adoption of many of the new technologies like facial recognition. You can actually open a new account on the mobile and it will verify your pic against your actual image using facial recognition technology. So we're using technology from companies in India, from the Far East to do that. And our role is that within instantly you can open a bank account, instantly you can get a virtual card, instantly you can do an e-commerce transaction, and you should be able to remit money instantly across the world without having to visit a bank or its branch. So we see AFS leading the digital kind of journey in partnership with the various banks which we operate, and also bringing much more new products into the market. So that's as far as what I've been doing since the time I left campus. So it is a retail banking career along with cards and payment expertise. And second about Bahrain, obviously have been here since 92 to 2000, came back again in 2010. So the longest stint that I have actually worked in my career happens to be Bahrain, and we love Bahrain. It's a cosmopolitan mix of people, and I think it's one country where obviously we are allowed to practice. We have temples here, we have churches here, we have mosques here. All religions are equal here, and one gets the freedom to practice their own religion. As you know, we have a famous Krishna temple here which celebrated 200 years recently, and the Prime Minister came and did the inauguration for the renovation of that temple. So Bahrain is one of those places. I think most of the people would have been to Dubai, but not to Bahrain. So Bahrain is like a mini version of Dubai. It doesn't all have all the glitz and the glamour of Dubai, but overall, I think it's a nice, comfortable place. Obviously, my family, my wife is a banker too, and my both kids studied in the UK, and now they are working in Europe and in UK. So that's our family. I would probably spend the next 10 minutes or on other subjects. Obviously, cricket is a passion with me. It used to be from the days of college, but it also the Trout and Rice tournament. I remember with great fondness how we won it. But I've continued with the cricket. I used to play for Standard Chartered, but no longer do I play. But my both sons did play for the universities and keep in touch with the game. Again, other interests. Obviously, music is an interest. Politics is an interest. I do have some views on which I get bashed in the group, but that's fine. Obviously, we see India as a powerhouse. We see India overtaking China at some point. And I also see India leading the entire digital revolution payment game in the world. Like when we did our own product of V-Wallet, we are using a company from India for our technology, which is Tech Mahindra. And what we found is some of the technologies which India is actually launching are things which the Middle East and Africa would copy from. There are, of course, technologies in Africa like the M-Pesa project where the payment is going on, which are reverse. But we feel India can contribute much more to the technology revolution across the world, including Europe. Because what India has done very successfully is got a bank account for most people. It's managed to enable digital payments. People have not taken to it 100%, obviously because of income tax and disclosure reasons. But we see eventually India being a hub of technology for the entire world. And the second thing we would like to mention is obviously the data costs in India are cheap. It is still cost effective to offshore to India. We use a lot of Indian companies for offshore development on our Vision Plus, which is our credit card platform. And we see that Indian companies can do much more business in the Middle East and Africa. So our views on India are positive in terms of the technology contribution of the country. And also we see India leading the payment revolution across the world, especially with what it has already done with a model like Paytm, which is now being launched in Japan and Canada. So I think I'll probably stop there. Shalini, if you need anything, have I exceeded my minutes or I'm okay?
No. This is fascinating. So I have a quick question. You've been very loyal to Standard Chartered all these years. Do you feel it's a advantage or a handicap?
Do you feel it's a
advantage being loyal to one company for so long?
See, I think when I worked with Standard Chartered for almost 23 years of my career, I've only worked for two companies in my life, right? So one is Standard Chartered, and probably the current one which I'm working for will be the second company. What I found with Standard Chartered, obviously I moved from Mumbai to Bahrain and then Bahrain to Lebanon, then came back to Dubai. At every stage, the loyalty was more in terms of the responsibility Standard Chartered gave me. So at no point of time did I really look out. So it was not a handicap. Actually, I learned a lot. I was not a credit cards payment expert, but because I got a role with Standard Chartered, which encompassed cards, I learned it. Standard Chartered is a great learning ground. And I never regretted till I left them, and purely due to the reasons that I could not move at that time because of the family. Otherwise, I would have continued with them. It was not a handicap at all. In fact, I felt that you get associated with the brand, you live the brand, and it almost becomes part of you. So it was not a handicap. It was quite a great learning experience.
Great. Shekhar, you had a question?
So, Chandru, you talked about digital payments truly taking off. How do you, do you see digital payments possible without having a bank account?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Just to elaborate on that, there is a license type in Middle East which is called payment service provider. Okay, so technically a bank is the only one which can open a banking account, but what we are able to open as a like AFS is something called a prepaid card. Okay, so a prepaid card on which you can deposit money, and the money which you deposit with us actually is in an escrow account with the bank. So I cannot touch that money and use it for myself. Okay.
Okay.
But you have access to that money 24/7. So when you go and pay at a merchant, what happens is technically your account gets debited and I settle with the merchant. So your money is your money. There is no processing that money in the sense I can't use it to lend to anybody. But
Sure.
the category of license that I have is exactly called a payment service provider. So I cannot lend it to you, but I can facilitate payments using that, like a payments bank in India, which was contemplated, and then I think now they've turned it into a fully functional bank. But in Bahrain, you can operate it as a prepaid account.
Okay. Now, the reason I was asking is one of the challenges that I have with waste pickers is the KYC norms have become so stringent for bank accounts. And most of these, most of the people I work with are at the most numerically literate, not even arithmetically literate. So, they have an Aadhaar card with a defunct mobile number. They have their PAN, the name on the PAN card doesn't match the Aadhaar card, so stuff like that. So, but but there's also a move to try and get out of, make people like us as companies move out of cash payments totally, right? So do you foresee?
Actually, what you just said makes a lot of sense, because what we actually operate in Bahrain is called a Wage Protection System Program. Okay, it's called WPS. So exactly what happens on the WPS is any employee with the company gets a prepaid card on which the salary is paid every month.
Okay.
So technically what I do today, the only ID I require is your whatever Aadhaar card or ID, whatever is acceptable in India. So technically we will give all your employees a prepaid card. Every month what happens is you send me a file, I will upload the card, and these guys can go and use the card. In fact, I actually send an ATM to their labor camp. Okay, so we have a driving like a ATM on van on wheels. So we actually send our ATM van to the labor camp. We educate these people how to withdraw cash, and later on, technically they don't need to use the card. They can remit money using their mobile. So one of the things we found in the Middle East is that people are quite WhatsApp savvy. Uh, they have taken to the technology of remitting money on the mobile very well. I don't know whether that is true in India or not. But labor people here, construction workers, are able to get a card. They're able to go and pay at shops, and they're able to withdraw from an ATM. So
No,
actually,
they're able to. They're able to use the cards if you give them. The problem is that step zero is to open a bank account. And
no,
bank
so
account needs
here you don't need the bank account. You need to only give them the card. So that's why the central bank here gave a license saying that you can issue a card without a bank account. So it will operate like a prepaid card. So you get your salary on the card. That is your account.
Do you foresee that happening in India?
I think so, because see, increasingly banks don't want these customers, right? So banks make it difficult for people to come and open, and you need payment service providers who can apply the same technology and keep the salary on file. Because all the functionality that a bank gives on a debit card is available on the prepaid card too.
And do you report just like a bank to the government in terms of who's opened an account with you,
Yes.
how much do they have in the account and all that?
Yeah, what we don't need to give is individual balances, but we need to tell them the total salaries paid every month, what is our
Okay.
total balance that we keep in the account, and how many companies have enrolled into this facility. So we have already done about 10,000 odd such cards, where big construction companies have given these cards to their workers.
Okay. So because HDFC offers this similar to what you're saying, but they have the same KYC norms. So that's what
They have to give light KYC for you. In fact, that is something you should log in. Because you can't make it difficult for these people to open their account.
Yeah. Okay. And I have started using Google Pay, which obviously is connected to my bank account. But that thing is so awesome, man.
It just takes away the pain.
Huh?
See, our product too, it's so easy to pay from your mobile. Then you get used to it and you will never use a card again, plastic card.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it is completely dependent on whether I have cash in my savings account. But if I do, I use Google Pay.
Yeah. In fact, once you get used to the new technology, it will be very difficult to go back and use old technology. This is one of the things we are observing now. People swear by our wallet because they just got used to paying at the supermarket using this.
Yeah. Cool. Great. And you still play cricket?
In fact, I would love to play, but no longer. I watch my children play now.
Oh, okay.
But I can play the tennis ball variety now. That's not a problem.
Acha, okay.
But I still can bowl well. I can't bat too well anymore because of eyesight, but I can bowl.
Chandra, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You've been a leader in leadership roles for many, many years. So that's my first question. What is a best trait for a leader? What have you learned that we did not learn in college? And my second question
I
is,
think one thing I've learned probably is to learn to work with different international cultures. I think when you work in the Middle East, obviously we work with all types of nationalities, and each one has their own challenge, right, in terms of how you interact with them. I think the respect for
Chandra, wait a minute.
thoughts.
Shekhar, can you mute your mic? We can't hear.
Sorry.
Yeah, Shalini.
Go,
Just to
Chandra.
come back to your question, I think one of the things I've learned obviously is to work internationally with different diverse sets of nationalities. So when I went to Lebanon, it was a totally different culture. Obviously, a French-speaking country, a different culture set. When I work in Bahrain or I worked in Dubai, it's a completely different set in each country, and Oman is different, Qatar is different, although they're all Middle East. But I think one of the things you learn a lot is to get understanding of the local culture, appreciate it, and then try to interact with them a lot more socially so that you get accepted, number one. And secondly, also I think they respect you if you teach them. So rather than just giving orders, as long as they're learning from you, you teach them new things. They're quite receptive and they're excellent people that way once you get their trust. So I think probably that international set of what we could have missed is something which I gained overseas.
I visited Bahrain last in 1991, just before Saddam Hussein walked into Kuwait. And at that time, Bahrain used to be the watering hole of Saudis and Kuwaitis, because Kuwaitis built the roads and hospitals and Saudis gave them free oil. And they had that bridge across. So Thursday nights would be terrible.
Right.
Does it continue?
It continues. Nothing has changed. We get a lot of visitors, so we don't drive too much on the weekends. We do our shopping when they're not here. But having said that, they're also a lifeline for the economy here. So it
Yeah, in
goes
fact,
both ways.
yeah, in fact, the joke that time used to be on a Thursday night, don't walk on the footpath, walk on the road because the
Yeah, yeah,
Kuwaitis
yeah.
are on the
That's
driving on
very,
the footpath.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Still same, still same. But as you
Okay,
said,
all
we are
right.
used to it now, so we know when to
Okay.
stop and when to go to now.
Okay, so
All right.
Chandra, I have another question. Let's have a
Yeah,
controversial question.
sure.
So you've been out of country, like you said, for so many years. What makes you so loyal to India and to Modi specifically?
See, I think I answered this question differently. One was, I think I see India as a technological superpower, uh, at least having experienced it in my job, number one. Secondly, I think with Modi, and I get bashed for it many times, but I see hope that India will be able to export its technology, export its products much more than it ever did, because I think there's a very positive image in the NRIs of Modi, right? Now, I also seen him, right, coming to Bahrain. He came and inaugurated the temple, the way he addressed the people here. There was a slight, what I would say, a better connect with him because obviously he's a great orator and he speaks the right language. The first thing he did was he said, I met the Prime Minister of Bahrain and he praised all the expatriates, Indians who are working here. So there's a direct emotional connect that, and he says, I'm proud of you, you know, that because of you, we have got a good name. And it's true. What he said was true. And secondly, I think there's a lot of respect now I see when we talk to others. And that what makes me loyal. The second thing, I've seen a lot of Gujarat development personally. I've seen the roads in Gujarat, I've seen the highways. And I think India needs that in every state. And also, he has some positive thoughts, right? There is a element which will always be negative and bring him down. But I think overall the positives outweigh the negatives, and I think he carries himself fantastically well when he comes abroad. So the kind of statements he made, the kind of meetings he had, the kind of reception he is getting is something seen to be believed, because every top dignitary in town has met him. They're signing pacts with him. I think people want to do business with India, which I see as a great positive.
Great. Okay, I have a question. Banking has seen margins reduce a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, today's news there is that people are, literally giving zero margins, about giving things to, consumers with very, very, very little margin. How do you think you all will make money? How will credit cards or whatever make money?
See, a simple thought, which I probably it's a secret, but we'll tell you now, that the banks typically borrow at a low rate and lend at a very high rate. Okay, so credit card is actually one of the highest margins a bank has. Having said that, aggregate, if you see across products, banks can still make a lot of money because what they pay the depositors is not much, right? And what they pay on current and savings accounts, current account, they didn't pay anything, right? And on a savings account, they probably pay something like 7-8% at the most if you're lucky. But we still lend at higher rates. And I think obviously the rates in India fluctuate, but you can still make a decent enough margin. Now, one of the things which has happened is banks got too greedy. Obviously, they never reduced the credit card rates. They never reduced the personal loan rates. And then fintechs came in and spoiled everybody's party. They were enjoying it for a long time. People were having a nice time. And they didn't see the advent of fintechs coming and taking this pie out of them. So what banks need to do, obviously, now is the game of maximizing products per customer. So if I don't make on the card that much as I used to make, it's fine. But I could sell you a wealth management product. I can sell you an auto loan. I can sell you a personal loan. I can, help place your money. I can help you to remit your money to somebody abroad if you have kids studying abroad. So it's not no longer a product revenue. We'll call it a customer revenue. So one of the things banks are moving to is products per customer. So we have a ratio that you should have at least 5 products per customer. And then you make tiny bits on each, no longer the big margins and fat margins which you used to make, but then aggregate you make a lot. So the revenue per customer is the driving mechanism for all. And the same for Paytm, it's the same for everybody. We're all trying to see how to make more. Even when you spend at a merchant, we make money because the merchant discount rate is charged by us. So If you are one of the best spenders, then we will make a lot of money off your spend. But maybe you are not a loan customer. That's fine. As long as you have all my products and I make tiny bits on each, the aggregate still makes a lot of sense. Hello.
Anyone else has questions? I have tons of questions, but let's have somebody else. Ash, Ganesh, and yeah. Okay, last question, Chandra, before we let you go.
Yeah.
What is the future of banking with fintech and technology? Do you think it will go to peer-to-peer and we really don't need an intermediary?
In fact, the biggest threat to banks is actually the Apples, the Googles, and the Facebook. Okay. Now, because of regulations, they have not been able to come to many countries. So the best advice we give banks, and we work with them all the time, is the bank fintech partnership should be started today to counter the threat of Apple, to counter the threat of these big giants. Because once these guys come in and spend money, banks will find it very difficult to change their legacy systems, to change their processes, because they're just archaic and they take too long. So a new giant comes in, can actually just take the bank's lunch. So it's a totally fintech kind of thing, which is banks need to actually partner with fintechs quickly, develop solutions which enable them to open bank accounts quickly, as Shekhar just said. But more important than that is to get maximum revenue and maximum products per customer. So you hook the customer, he cannot move on. Now, there is still a threat that on the payment side, if banks are now encouraging and partnering with Apple Pay and Google Pay, but there's a danger to that as well, because once Apple gets in and has your customer, they can take you out of the game simply by just offering them a better product. So I think ring fencing their current business with fintechs, developing quick solutions before Apple comes in, would be a good way for banks to see off the threat of these companies. But having said that, they have a lot of money. The only advantage I see is they will only concentrate on markets with minimum sizes. So they may not go to countries which are below 200-300 million. So the other countries can relax, because what these guys are after is volume. They're not technically after number of countries. So the other banks, like banks in the other countries, can wait. They can actually wait and watch. But the bigger countries, and India included in that, is an area where they are very keen. They're keen on China, they're keen on India, they're keen on many of the bigger populated countries. So this is a threat which I think banks have to quickly adapt and get into partnership with fintech. So like a Paytm in India, a state bank could have become a Paytm if they had just invested in the technology. But they allowed Paytm to come in, and now Paytm has more customers than any one bank in India. So that's how the fintech eats the bank's lunch. But what I think would have been a better model would have been an SBI Paytm alliance when they started. So it would not have competed then, and they could have actually, Google Pay and other people would have come much later, and they could have just seen off the threat.
Thank you so much. This is very, very enlightening. So if nobody else has questions, I am going to call it off. Chandu, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shalini, for organizing. Thank you for Doc also.
No.
Thanks
Yep.
to all the guys.
You're a reasonable man, right?
Care.
Nothing's wrong here. Okay. Everyone be nice.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chandra.
Thank you. Great.
The menu for some desserts. Oh, okay. What is it?
What it is?
Yeah.
It's like lava cake, like on the inside.
Right.
Yeah.
With ice cream, isn't it?
Yes, vanilla ice.
What is very Norwegian?
Very region, I would say this one. It's apple.
It's an apple pie?
Yeah. You don't have to. You want some coffee or?
Yeah, I'll have some coffee with milk on the side.
Yes.
Hot milk on the side.
Hot milk.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And do you want it together with the dessert, or do you want it now?
No.